things that we could start doing immediately in our communities and in our neighborhoods. I hope you were encouraged by that and challenged. So our next session here, we're going to have both Brother Joki and his daughter Annika come and speak together. I also met Annika. I had met Brother Joki at ABI and in Duluth, but I met Annika when I went to Tulsa. And while we were there, she started the social media page when she got back from Bible college, and I was able to witness the church growth through social media. And I was able to see a lot of things of how they paired outreach with social media. And one of the big things that happened is after the pandemic, we started talking to all our visitors that came, and I would go as far, I don't know if you guys ever took percentages or numbers on it, I would go as far as saying over 90% of the visitors that came to the church while I was there, well, how'd you hear about us? And they say, well, we found you on Facebook and on Instagram. And another thing that I would say, and I don't want to step on anything that you guys are going to talk about, they'd say, we saw what you were doing in the community, and we just want to be a part of that. And it was incredible to witness. I saw other churches from downtown send money to our church because we were doing stuff in the downtown area and do stuff. It was incredible. So I want to ask Annika to come. She's a pro at what she does, and Brother Joki to come back up and have your will with us.
Thank you. Yeah, he's right. Churches downtown would give us money, like Methodist churches, denominational churches, to sponsor what we were doing. And I've got so much I could say about all of this stuff, but like curb appeal, I believe in the church the lawn should be mowed, everything should be flowers, shrubbery, pumpkins in the fall, and then we started. So we really work on our curb appeal. I had an elder tell me when I was down at helping Matthew Martin for 26 years, I took care of the lawn at the church there. And an elder came up to me one time and he said, Brother Joki, he said, if if somebody walks by the church here and sees that they take that good care of their church, if they're that worried about their lawn that they take that good care of their lawn, they probably really would care about my heart too. And so churches started, a couple of churches came and gave us money to keep our shrubberies. You make this community look so pretty. Here's some money to keep the flowers going and stuff. Really weird stuff. So curb appeal. What's a good text for that? I don't know. But this is Annika, and she's 25, and she will be 26 in December, and she brought into the world a little more than 2 years ago Stella, our granddaughter. And pray for Annika and I. We if you don't know, my wife and Annika's mom, Susie, some of you know, some of you, but she's struggling through stage 4 breast cancer, taking chemotherapy, and it can get to be really, really rough. And so we're doing our best to. She's here. She's back at the hotel with Stella, but Annika is an authority on social media, and Brother Taylor has mentioned people just coming because of social. So Annika, do you want to talk a little bit?
First of all, thanks to Brendan and Veronica Taylor for inviting me here. I believe social ministry is very, very, very important. I believe in the power of it, and I hope that today I can portray that to you all in a right way. I'm going to go through some benefits, some tips, some practical things, and tell a couple stories. This is the first time I've done this, as he's mentioned, so I might stumble a little bit, but I'm going to do my best. Every church holds a lot of different ministries. We have Sunday school ministry, worship ministry, youth ministry, etc., and all are important, but social ministry is what combines them all together. 2 John 1:12 says, I have much to write to you, but I do not want to use paper and ink. Instead, I hope to visit you and talk to you face to face so that your joy may be complete. And social media is the most face to face that you're going to get with your city. There's a sociology term called the third place. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of that. But the idea is that we have two social environments in life. The first place is your home, and then the second place is your work. But there's a third place, and that is where you can meet new people, and you can find a community. You can encounter different varieties of people. And most importantly, this is a place that you choose to go, not somewhere that you're told to go, or it's a mandatory thing to go. For centuries, the most common third place was churches. So when people who have yet to visit your church in person go to your social accounts and websites and see your photos and pictures and smiling faces, that is the most interacting with the third place that they can get. They instantly get to feel what your community is like. Then for the people already in your church, they are reminded on a day-to-day basis the community that they already have established. It has taken the place of handouts, door knocking, and flyers. I don't know if any of you all still do that or have done that. I have vivid memories of door knocking and passing things out and just wondering, like, oh, will anybody ever read this? Will anybody ever see this? But now we know people are going to read the things we're putting out, and we know that people are going to see the things we're putting out. We could all pull out our phones right now and search just church in Facebook or Instagram, and you'd have thousands and thousands and thousands of things come up. And it would be a shame if your church wasn't a part of that. It's your job as social media ministers to do your best to make your page prominent and clickable on that search. If ministries could be ranked in importance, I would put social media and marketing very, very high on the list, because you are the pipeline from the four walls of your church to the streets.
You just have to accept that times have changed. I'm sure that you have. They're just not the same. At our church, Annika and usually one other person during the service, like this is awesome, are walking around taking pictures during worship, they're like even walking across the altar area, taking pictures. I think of my first couple of services at the Apostolic Gospel Church in Duluth with Brother Merrick. If somebody would have been walking around taking pictures in 1984 on a Sunday night at Brother Merrick's church, there's a good chance that there would have been a closed-door meeting at the conclusion. Brother Merrick's sideways, I can't tell you how many times I've had that sideways pointed finger at me, but that was then and this is now. And if you're not, again, I don't mean this literally, but if you don't have that kind of action in your church and posting things like all the time. Annika didn't say it, but she's the social media director for the Oklahoma district, which is a very, very, we have like 150 churches, over 300 ministers, huge events. Our camp meeting is huge, and she runs all of that, has a team. So at our camp meetings too, there's a whole team of people taking pictures, videos during church, but times have changed, and it's just a great way to promote and so forth. Sorry, Annika.
You are the hands and feet to bring the good news. You are who is translating what is done in your Sunday services to the world. We had a reel go viral a couple weeks ago, and it really kind of I knew that everybody saw it, but it put into perspective how many people can see your page.
What reel was that?
I'm going to talk about it later.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't see it since he doesn't have Instagram.
I mean, I don't have Insta. I'm not on Facebook.
He likes to be in the videos sometimes, though, but he doesn't ever see them. I have to screen record and text it to him if he wants to see what we post. It is easy to think that what we're putting out is only being seen by your church or the people in your community, but in reality, the potential is that your stuff can be seen by hundreds and thousands, millions of people. We gained a large amount of followers from that post, and some of them are from different countries because they're commenting in different languages, but they're still commenting. Like, we posted a worship video 2 days ago, and somebody commented on it that we got from the viral video. And so social media isn't just about your city, it's about the world. On average, every person spends 2.5 hours a day on social media. That would mean that if someone is spending 2 hours in your church service every week, they're spending 6 times that amount on social media. Simply due to the amount of time spent, you can reach way more people on social media. It is so much more important because of that as church members to do our due diligence to be relevant in how our church is portrayed online. We are competing with hundreds and hundreds of churches that are all trying to do the same thing, which is to show Jesus and get people to come to your church. And then you can tell the story.
We have so many stories in regards to how people wound up at our church just simply through social media. Remember the guys I told you about on Sunday night? I got my phone out and I typed it into my phone. He was scrolling through would it be our Insta? He was scrolling through our Insta and he said, this is what he said. He said, wow, it looks like you guys are hitting stuff that matters. That's what he said, hitting stuff that matters. I typed it into my phone because I thought it would maybe even be a good sermon title sometime, hitting stuff that matters. So there's that story, which is really cool, and I really hope to run into those guys again. But maybe a couple of months ago, I was talking to you about coffee shops are places where conversationalists, curious is another good word, curious people. Well, this was maybe, 8 or 9 months ago. My wife and our music director met at that same Starbucks that we like to go to, and they were planning a night of worship. About once a quarter, we take a Sunday evening and we kind of make it look like this, dim the lights. We even bring out lamps, area rugs. We reconfigure the chairs, and we just all it is a night an unplugged acoustic night of worship. And Susie and Alicia were planning this night of worship, like songs, who's going to sing, who's going to play the guitar, these kinds of things. And because those are places where people are curious, the young man sitting next to them, he didn't do it right away. He waited until he was ready to pack up his stuff. But when he started packing up his stuff, he walked over to Susie and Alicia and he said, man, I've been listening to you guys plan this night of worship. When is it? And they said, well, it's going to be next Sunday, whatever. He came to that night of worship and brought with him like 17 people. Again, it just goes to support this coffee shop bit. Curious, conversationalists, people aren't afraid to ask. If you don't go, you are missing out daily on opportunities to get brand new, unchurched visitors in your church. You just really are. I wish you could all come hang out with me in Tulsa for a day and see the people. But anyway, so that was so epic, right? Mm-hmm. That was so cool.
So on social media, as we all know, there's a lot of different platforms. Luke 8:1-11 talks about sowing seeds in as much soil as possible, and the same can be applied to your online presence. People don't just spend those 2.5 hours I talked about scrolling on Facebook. I mean, maybe some people, but majority do not just spend 2.5 hours scrolling on Facebook or searching on Google. You're finding churches. They are using a plethora of online sites. The average was 7.5 social media platforms each month. That means that you shouldn't just be putting all your eggs in one basket. You should try to find 2 or 3 that you feel like you can really conquer, work on those, get those stable, and then add when appropriate. You have to be where the people are. What he was saying is the same with this. You have to be where the people are. The most popular platforms are Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, LinkedIn, and Pinterest. I would recommend Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube being your primary focuses.
But the hip people call it Insta.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not on it, that's what the hip people call it. It's called.
The people without Instagram call it
They
Insta.
call it. When we get a visitor, I say, hey, did you see us on Insta?
Okay, so now I'm gonna go into some benefits of social media. The first one being you can communicate with community members in real time. Before social media, to speak to your church, you had to do announcements and just hope that people were listening when you were saying them. You had to make phone calls. You had to visit their houses. You had to write letters, et cetera, et cetera. Now you can press a button and everybody will know what's going on. If you have a big service or community event, you had to knock the doors, put up the flyers, yada, yada. But now you can make one post and everybody will know. With the help,
And I don't know if you have this in your notes, but be clever. Find somebody in your church that's clever with design and not be like just really generic, but be clever with it. You know, cool background, cool font, you know, stuff like that. Make it really cool. And if you don't know what cool is, like me, just do a search and see what like churches in California are doing, or seriously, I mean, do some research. See what other really cool churches. Oh, she's going to talk about that. My bad.
doing this takes all the guesswork out of finding people because everyone is on their phones. For these type of things, I would suggest using Facebook and Instagram ads.
Or Insta.
Using ads because you can pinpoint a demographic down to their interests. You can go on to, if you're having a fall party, you can go in there and search families with kids that are interested in finding a community, that love people, like down to that, and spend $30 and it'll go out to all these pages and you'll be very shocked at how much people you can get. We do these ads for our backpack drive, our trunk or treat, our night of worship, and we always have visitors that found us through the
Do you
ads.
understand what she, because I'm not sure I understand, but do you understand how you can pay money to, does anybody get that? Can you do that again?
Yes, you can spend an amount from $5 to however high. They go onto the Facebook, on Instagram, and it just says, make an ad. Yeah. If you have any questions about how to do that, you can find me afterwards, and I can show you.
Spend money
Yes.
to like narrow down your audience. How cool.
So, and you can say, like, I want to reach 10,000 people, I want to reach 30,000, et cetera, and that'll do it for you. You don't have to spend that time.
Anybody doing that?
It's worth it. It's worth it.
And we do a backpack drive at the beginning of school every year. I think we passed out 500 backpacks in August. School in Oklahoma, school starts in the middle of August. Loaded, not just an empty backpack, but a backpack with notebooks, pencils, crayons, rulers, tapes, hand sanitizer, and we put out this ad she's talking about.
That's how we got everybody to come.
And in 1 hour, you wouldn't believe we had 100 cars at our church driving through, music playing, bottles of water, giving. The cars would pull up with like 5 kids in the back seat screaming. And how many backpacks do you need? 5. We're just giving them 5. It costs lots of money, but man, that's how revival isn't free. Right. It takes money and effort, hard work. But that's how they did that. They zeroed in on this stuff on Insta.
The next benefit is you're able to share your church's story with the world. If you're someone in here that, how many people run their church's social media? Maybe we should say that. A couple hands. If you are one of those people, I would urge you very strongly to sit down with your pastor and just talk to them. Find out what their vision is for your church because it's your job to portray that vision. Take notes of phrases that they use, things that they're wanting to do, like things along that line. Like, for example, we use the phrase a lot, love our city, because teaches to love our city. And so we put that out there saying, we love Tulsa, we love our city. And it's important to get in the same vein as your pastor. You, more than anyone, you need to buy into his vision, because you are the one that is telling that vision to everyone else. While your pastor is the one delivering the messages to the congregation, you are the one relaying the message to those who aren't in attendance. You need to prayerfully be on the same page and truly, truly, truly believe in what he's teaching. If you're a pastor, I would encourage you to do that. Take your social media person aside and really say, this is what I want to see, this is what I believe. And just, I don't know, this is like probably one of the most important parts, is you have to be on the same page as those above you, because you don't want to be portraying your church in a light that they don't align on. You want your church and your social media to be one and the same. When people walk in, they're not surprised by what they're hearing taught. They're not surprised by what they're seeing. Social media is the pipeline from outside the church to the pews. It's your job to portray the church in the best light possible. Next point, it allows you to reach out to new members. The more platforms you're on, the more people you're reaching. Like I said before with the platforms, our motto at our church is turn over every rock. Same thing can go with social media. See what works. People are consuming content 24/7, so why not make your church in the running for that? You will never know the people your page can reach. For example, he mentioned we had a lot of people come in, but this is just one particular story. This has been years ago, probably 4 years ago. We had this one girl that consistently liked every single post that we put out, to the point where I was noticing. I was like, this girl doesn't go to our church, but she's liking every single thing we do. And this went on for months. And she was always in the back of my mind, because I would see her liking. And then one day, it was about 5 minutes into church, I turn around and she's sitting behind me. And I was like, oh my word, I think that's the same girl. And I looked her up on our page, and I was like, yes, that's the same exact girl. And I went and talked to her after, and she said, I've been watching you guys for months, and I want to be a part of what is going on here. I needed a church, and this is where I want to be. And full circle, she's now my right-hand woman on our social media team, because she bought into it, because it worked on her. She knows the potential that social media ministry can have. Don't take your posting lightly, or use it as just a checkbox of, oh, this is what we have to do now, so I'm just going to put something out and call it good. No, you have the potential to reach your city through social media. And going hand in hand with that is sharing the gospel. This is the one-stop shop for sharing what you believe. You might not ever get people in your doors, but you sure can get them on your page. As I keep reiterating, this is a ministry and a gateway to the platform, or from the platform to the streets. Even if someone never steps foot into your building, they can still hear the good news of Jesus. Jesus tells us to go out and make disciples to all nations, and to spread his word to the people wherever they are. In these days, people spend increasing amounts of time on their phones, so why shouldn't we meet them where they are? We are called to extend the message to the people wherever they are, and technology has allowed us to do that. Okay, so now I'm going to gear into practical ways to work in this ministry. First, and probably most obvious, is utilize apps. I'll name a couple that greatly benefit us, and I know other churches as well. Canva, very cheap and easy. So it's free at some levels. Graphic design app. I made our sermon slides quickly on Canva today. It was add in text, and that's it. It's very easy and self-explanatory. CapCut is a great app for Reels. It gives you templates, and all you have to do is just plug in a video that you took at church, and you can have text over it. You can have it all made. Literally, all you have to do is insert a video. Splice is a great photo editing app for iPhones. It's also free at the start. You have to pay the more features you want, but I use the free version, and it gets the job done. Lightroom Mobile, it's $4.99 a month, but you can have unlimited amounts of presets and editing softwares for your photos. And then Sunday Social, which is a great app that I'm going to talk about later, but that one's a great one. Everybody should write that one down. All of these are easy to use, and they can easily elevate your page, very, very easily. Next point is focus on quality over quantity. Don't just think that you'll throw a ton of stuff at the wall and see what sticks. Work with a team. Curate a team alongside your pastor of people that are like-minded or you can see potential in, and work with them and decide what makes most sense for your demographic. And really just focus on making those things great. Don't just say, we're gonna make 3 posts a day. I don't care what they look like, but we're making 3 posts a day. Say, we can focus on making one really, really good one every other day, and that will benefit you more than 3 blasé ones every day. If you have great camera equipment, focus on your photography and video. If you don't have any equipment at all and you just have an iPhone, which is okay, then focus on iPhone videos and graphic design. Do what works best for your team and do it well, and then flow into everything else. Next, going off what he said, find inspiration, but don't compare yourself. Going back to Sunday Social, it is a great website. It has stock graphics, already made graphics that are for every holiday, Christmas, everything. You can just save them and post them, and people are none the wiser. It will look great. You can even find inspiration. I do that a lot for our holidays and like important things. I'll go on there and look at a couple and think, I like that font, I like that style, combine them, and it helps a lot. And one thing that I like to do, and I'm not ashamed to admit it, is I like to look at other churches, kind of what he mentioned. And I already had someone come and ask us what my church is, so if anybody wants to look up our church, it's Downtown Tulsa Church. No, Downtown Church Tulsa. Sorry, I got the words mixed up. Downtown Church Tulsa. But there are a couple that I know align with what we like to portray, and I will look at them and think, oh, I like this caption that they used, or I like these colors that they used on a post, or blah, 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 blah. And so don't be afraid to look up other people. We're all doing the same thing. So there's no harm, no foul in getting inspiration from other churches. I mean, don't copy and paste what they're doing, but that's kind of self-explanatory. Like, just get some inspiration. While gaining knowledge is great, don't ever let yourself compare your product to the next, because every church is different. You have different levels of talent, you have different levels of equipment, you have different levels of money that can buy things. You have people that have been doing it for 10 years, you have people that have been doing it for 1 month. Don't compare your church to the next. As long as you're doing what works for you and what works for your demographic, then you are doing the best that you could possibly do.
Yeah, I just feel led to say that if you're, all of us have a mandate to get better at whatever it is we're doing, and so if you do social media for your church, I mean, constantly be looking and researching and doing your due diligence to get better. Don't just what we're doing is good enough, and don't make an effort to get better, because there's I think we have a great social media, but we can do better. And thankfully, Annika is always researching, looking, checking things out, talking to people. She has friends all around the country that she can tag in with, hey, what's something cool that you guys have seen? And don't just be content with, oh, this is good enough. Our mandate in every field is to always be getting better and better and better and better and so forth. I know I'm trying to do better and get better in my work every day too. So
my next point is mentor someone. If you are running your church's social media, I would greatly encourage you to add a young person to your team, a teenager or, I don't know, 12-year-old, an age that knows what's cool. They will help you with reels, they will help you with new ideas, and they're very teachable because they've not been jaded by everything. They will take what you're saying to them like a sponge and live for it and study for it. And I'll jump to something I was going to say later, is I had a young man, he probably when he started 16 maybe, and he expressed just a minor interest in photography, and I snapped him up and threw everything I had at him, and he soaked it in like a sponge, and now he's the most sought after photographer we have in Oklahoma people call him all the time, can we use Sammy, can we use Sammy, can we use Sammy? And it's because he was young when he started, he got all the knowledge, and he went out and figured it out. And he's a great asset to our team because he knew it was cool, he knew what he was doing, and I just really recommend getting someone to mentor. This became my personal ministry when I was about 14 or 15 years old. My youth pastor, this was 10 years ago, was even before social media was really a thing. Like, we had Instagram, but nobody really used it to its potential. My youth pastor came to me and asked if I would run our youth page. And I was very excited. I was gung-ho about it, and I just started throwing stuff out. I would make sermon graphics. This was before this was even a thing. I would take a title of what he said and put it on a picture of him and post it. And I had no idea what I was doing, but I was enjoying it, and I was having fun. But he let me do it, and he let me fly. And that's a key to being a leader, is let these people within your criteria, let them go for the stars, because you don't know the type of potential that they have. Since I was 15, I have been on the NAYC social media team 2 to 3 times. I run marketing for a statewide girls conference. I work youth camps every year on the social media side, and I'm currently the Oklahoma District social media director. And I'm not saying all this to brag about myself, but just to show the fact that if my youth pastor wouldn't have believed in me when I was 15, I highly doubt that I would be here right now. I probably never would have picked up a camera. I never would have designed anything. And I would have just kept on doing what I was doing. And I owe a lot of who I am now on this ministry side to him for trusting me and believing me. Because you just never know. You never know the next person that's going to rise to the occasion. Use this job as an opportunity to truly be a leader and mentor to someone. Next point I'm going to have, this is my last point, is probably the most important one, is utilize Reels. Does everybody know what Reels are? This is the biggest growth takeaway that you can take from this, is to make Reels. And this doesn't require, it's the best thing because it gets you the most reach and it requires the least amount of equipment. Half the Reels we post were filmed on my phone. Take out your phone and get a clip of worship, get a clip of sermons, find a funny audio, and have somebody just go around. Like, the video that went viral for us was the one that we did that said, when pastor starts singing an 80s song that nobody knows. And it was people just sitting there with like a funny look on their face. And we went viral from it. And that was it. It wasn't like some theological discussion or anything. It was literally a funny sound with the words, when pastor sings an 80s song that we don't know.
I love the modern choruses. I love them. But I, from time to time, try to break out an 80s worship chorus. As a matter of fact, every time I'm in St. Paul, I get out my Michael W. Smith 1983, The Project, or have I not been listening to too many times I'm back inside, wanting desperately to hide. That's how it goes. I'm always breaking out in an 80s tune. And I just did it on Wednesday. It was epic. Yep,
and nobody knows what he's singing. Yeah, but I mean, it got us a lot of views and, like I said before, a lot of followers and stuff. So it was a good one. But that's what I'm meaning, is it doesn't have to be something so far out there that you can't accomplish it. Have someone on your team that's their sole job is to find reels that you can make and execute them on Sundays and Wednesdays. Literally, like, one video that I've seen going around is videoing people giving high fives, like 3 people giving someone a high five and saying, like, we want to see you at midweek. How easy is that? That would take 2 minutes, and it would get you so many views. To put it into perspective, carousel photos, which is the swipe photos, is a 14% reach, meaning that 14% of users see them. Single image pictures are a 13% reach, but reels have a 31% reach. So that just should tell you even more how important reels are to the growth. It's not hard, and it sets you up to be a contender in this is a relevant church game, because people are looking for reels. They're not looking at they look at pictures, but they're not looking for pictures. They're looking for reels. If you can take away anything from what I've said today, I would say treat social media as the biggest ministry that you could be blessed to work in. You're getting on the ground floor of something that is ever evolving. Social media is changing every day, and I don't think that it has any plans on stopping. Just keep turning over those rocks and seeing what works for you. This is the most the church is the most sacred third place that you can have in your life, and we should be portraying it as that. You're showing the people who the church is before they ever even step foot inside, or they might not ever step foot inside. But as he mentioned, we are the ones sharing the good news, and it should be shared to everyone. So why not meet them where they're at? And that's all I have.
Thank you so much, you guys. That was a lot of great practical information, and I just want to let you know we are going to get a list of those apps and different things that we should use, and we'll make sure that those get posted so that everybody can look through those and get those available. I also wanted to mention that, why is Brother Jokey up here right now if he doesn't do anything on social media or, have any role to play in that? Well, he does. She mentioned that he's the pastor. He's one of the most creative guys I know when it comes to getting into the community and going and doing things. Like, where should we go? Well, let's go try this. Let's go try that. Let's go try this. One time we went into downtown Tulsa and we walked by this warehouse and it looked like some cool people were going in there. And he goes, let's walk in here and see what's going on. And we walked in and it was like this really, it was at 36 degrees north or whatever. It was just a office rental space that somebody had bought this old car manufacturing facility and created it all into these cool and hip offices. We walked in there like, oh, will you give us a tour? And they gave us a tour of the whole building and all these people working and stuff like that. And Annika, on the other end of the spectrum, they might be a lot different, but she's incredibly creative when it comes to social media. And what I got to witness was he would come up with these incredible ideas of, well, let's go and this into the community. Let's go do that in the community. Let's go do this. And I call them like community-minded ministries. And Annika would come along and record and take pictures, and she wasn't rude or disrespectful in getting everybody's faces, but she was great at what she did. And there were so many people that the people that you're ministering to in those moments might not ever walk through your door. You can pass out 1,000 blankets, and maybe not one of those people that got a blanket would come through your door. But I watched dozens of people that saw what Annika was posting of what we were doing in those ministries, and they go, you know what? I want to go do that. I want to find a church that's making a difference in their community. I want to find a church that's passing out 500 backpacks on an August. And that's the double edge of the sword, is you can have one person that, hey, I don't know how social media works at all. I don't even know how to press post. But I can come up with ideas, and I can help set up the outreach, and I can help set up these ministries. And then you can have the other side of it where people go, I do know how to share that, and I do know how to post that, and I do know how to make that relevant for people to see. And you can win your city that way. So thank you all for paying attention to that. Thank you, both Annika and Greg, for sharing that information with us. We're going to take another 10-minute break, and then we'll have our final session here, a question and answer. So we'll be right back.